I have always done things my own way. I played by myself, I made up stories in my head, and I explored the world on my own terms. Yeah, sure, some people tried to tell me what to do, where to go, what was appropriate or not. But the first ever word to come out of my mouth was no. I think that pretty much sums up how I feel about that. It doesn't mean that it didn't impact me. I remember as a kid, I often had this perspective of people walking ahead of me. I don't even think they noticed me there, and somehow I could never reach them. I was pretty sure that if I stopped walking and disappeared, no one would even notice. Sometimes I would look down at my feet and wonder why they don't work the same way as everyone else's. I kept to my path. I learned to speak my mind. I held my values close to my chest. When I found nowhere to belong, I built communities from scratch. I connected intensely and enthusiastically, and I really believed in giving people space to just exist. I loved unconditionally, even when the feeling wasn't mutual, or when they didn't hold the same space for me as I did for them, just because I could. In a world so bleak, loving was my revolution. I also danced on my own, listened to my voice echoing from the walls of my room, and I made so much from the nothing I had. I paved so many paths out of wilderness and the unknown. I'm really proud of that. A couple years ago, on New Year's Eve, I found myself walking. I was with my group of friends, many of whom I lived with and who I cared a lot about. I knew then I was about to leave everyone behind, but it was during this walk that I realized it would probably be quite permanent. You see, we had a plan. We were going out and spend time together. But it didn't work out, as it often wouldn't. We found ourselves just standing in the middle of a super busy street, and eventually we just decided to go home. They wanted to take a cab, but I couldn't afford it. And so I just said, "Hey, let's walk. We'll be together, so it will be fine." But they looked at me somewhat weirdly and then kept finding excuses to stop or find something else to do. Suddenly, I found myself moving forward, my feet carrying me on through the dark and empty streets, alone. I thought of me as a kid, how I had stayed behind so often, and how now I just went on despite it being hard. It felt cathartic. I am still not quite sure where I am going. It has been exhausting to build everything again, but I keep walking, maybe a bit slower than I did before. I keep meeting people and genuinely appreciate them, even if we are just crossing paths temporarily. I decided I will go where my feet take me, no matter how weird it is. I am sure that it will be fine, and I look forward to the journeys.